funds your offices with local money because you would agree to waive the concealed weapon fee. So the clerk's perspective simply was, if you want to have this basically, if you want to eliminate the fee, then just eliminate the fee, and then citizens of the Commonwealth, when they go and apply for a concealed weapon permit, they'll just have to pay that fee, and those costs are incorporated into the overall operation of government.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
The other point, and I think it bears pointing out, that both the clerks and the sheriff's departments benefit from added security in the courtrooms. That's where they do their work. That's where they live. And so they're very happy with more money for security of their
I see
facility.
we have another question.
Well, yeah, I'm not for or against the idea. I think it's probably got a good basis, but I'm a little uncomfortable with the idea of taxpayers having to foot the bill of providing a concealed handgun permit to somebody. That doesn't sit very well with me.
Mr. Chairman, I would point out that taxpayers foot the bill for law enforcement. It also deals with people who use firearms in a bad way. So, I mean, it's kind of, I understand your point, Andrew. It's kind of, we underwrite, we have the DMRC as well.
If there are no further questions, I'll bring for a motion. Motion report. And a second. Motion is made, properly second, to report the amendment in nature of substitute. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The next bill will be, Bill 1418. Is Delvin McQueen here?
Yes.
Please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How are you this evening? Everyone on the committee? Mr. Chairman, and the members of the committee, this is probably a bill that you all have seen something similar before. It's about firearms in libraries owned or operated by localities. And I'm bringing this before. This was a request because of concern, and those individuals are here, of those who represent the library board and whatnot. And so just wanted us to give strong consideration to prohibiting guns in libraries, and especially in the city of Richmond. Gun owners in Richmond City have been using public libraries as a forum to express their Second Amendment rights. The staff strongly feels that it should be, the library should be used as a reading circle, and that schools and actually libraries are inappropriate places for open carry firearms. The language that's crafted in this proposal is crafted to provide an exception to the preemption of firearm regulation. It is not intended for a broad sweeping statewide mandate. And we know that a lot of times there are times where accidents are waiting to happen, and God forbid that happening in one of the public libraries. It is a place that's frequently visited by children, and sometimes just the seeing a gun sometimes is somewhat intimidating. And so with the increase in accidental shooting in this nation, I guess the question is to be asked, is it the best time to allow guns in a public place? It should be a place of peaceful and tranquility, where you go in, you have quiet time, you're reading, you're observing, and many times studying. And so it's often, again, it's somewhat intimidating. The other piece is, and then I wanted those who are here to have an opportunity to speak, is that we have like police officers, or those who certainly are in authoritative position, who are trained for months in terms of how to handle firearms. And then when it comes to weapons, and I have no, in terms of people's Second Amendment, I'm fine if that's what you want to do. It's okay. Personally, a gun scares me to death. But anyway, but that's fine. But many folks have, all you have to do is, have a required 20-question test and about $60, and you have a gun. So I just want us to look at this favorably, and and give the library, Richmond Public Library, an opportunity here, and as it relates to, and say, what, it shouldn't be a place where people are carrying their guns.
I'll give you a chance to present your speakers.
Okay, all right, thank you. We have from the library.
All
Come on,
right.
she's the
Please,
chair.
please just state your name.
Name.
How do you do? I'm Gail Zwerner. I am the chair of the Richmond Public Library Board. And with me today are Scott Firestein, our library director, and Tanya Francis, another board member, and Charlie Schmidt is here, who is the president of the Friends Group. And I couldn't have said it better than Delegate McQuinn, so I won't waste your time. I will leave my written statement here, but I will just repeat that gun owners, and we suspect legitimate gun owners, licensed gun owners, are using public libraries as a forum to express their constitutional rights. And a recent incident I can give as an example in our North Avenue branch was a patron wanting to protest a fine came in with a rifle strapped across his chest. And in our small branch libraries, the reading circles are an eye shot away. So we're concerned, staff are concerned. Our staff and security are well trained in their observations of proper holstering and those kinds of things that we can challenge people bringing guns into libraries. But in this case, it was perfectly legitimate, but just was certainly alarming to our patrons and staff. And this is not intended to be a statewide, broad sweeping mandate. We want a local option for municipalities, particularly urban environments like the city of Richmond, to make its own decisions. Councilman Chris Hilbert, who was just elected president of council, is on board, and I think he has submitted a statement or will be submitting a statement to you. So thank you for having us, and if you have any questions.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody else? Doug?
The other.
Scott, would you like to say anything?
Okay, I just,
Yeah,
Or
Mr.
Tanya?
Chairman, Andrew Goddard, Virginia Center for Public Safety, we support this bill.
anyone else in support?
Yes, please. Good afternoon. My name is Lori Haas. I'm with the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence, and we support the bill. We support it for the reasons that have been stated by the delegate and by the librarian representative. But we would also like to suggest and have the committee consider that there are times when local control is a good idea. There are times and situations that maybe some of the committee members aren't familiar with. Gun homicides in Richmond, Roanoke, Portsmouth, Newport News, and other localities are on the rise. And there are some strategies that may work and there are strategies that may not work. But there are certain circumstances where we need to give localities some control over innovative ideas on how to deal with gun violence, innovative ideas on how to deal with the challenges that their localities present to them. And frankly, I don't know that many of us can speak directly to those gun homicides or our experience with it. I don't know how many gun homicides, for example, happen in your district, delegate. But it is a problem in certain districts, and it is a problem that needs to be addressed. Gun violence, knows no boundaries, but as the body that's been elected to keep Virginians safe and protect all citizens, I think we need to consider strategies that do narrow those protections while respecting the Second Amendment, and that we can do a better job when we look to the people who live in a city and live in a particular locality and they're asking for help. And I just feel like the committee needs to respond.
Thank you.
Question. So the folks that are sponsoring the bill, I didn't hear any of them talking about this being in any way related to stopping gun violence. So what is the nexus between this bill and your efforts to stop gun violence? How do you believe that this does anything to achieve those ends?
These persons have come to you to ask for a solution to their particular
Which is that it's uncomfortable for people in the library to see people with guns, and that has nothing to do with gun violence. So I'm asking you how you
Well,
believe this would tend to stop gun violence and
I think
homicides.
it would distract and discourage more people from carrying firearms in public.
People bent on homicide, you think it would distract them from that?
I don't know that.
What, and pardon me, Ms. Haas, you're the one that said that you believe that this in some way tends to end gun violence, and I'm asking you how you believe it
Broadly, no.
achieves that.
No, I understand your challenge and I understand your discussion. I'm just saying that gun violence is a problem in our communities.
Agreed.
And we can do more about it. So in this particular instance, with this particular problem, please consider their solution to their problem. Because in the broader picture, I don't think we're doing enough about it.
I got you. Do you agree with me that their issue has nothing to do with gun violence?
I did provide some statistics for the city of Richmond.
Oh, I know it's a dangerous place, I understand that.
So we
We're
can-
getting better.
So the more you say it's a dangerous place, the more you contribute to my
Just a
ultimate
second.
argument in this matter, sorry.
All comments come through the chairman, we're not gonna have a free-fall back and
Excuse me,
forth.
excuse
I think
me,
we've heard enough
One at a
discussion on
time.
this particular issue.
That's all, thank you.
Is there anyone else that likes to speak in favor? Okay, if not, against.
Nicole J. Cleveland, Virginia Citizen Defense League. Yes, we oppose the bill. Again, it's a bill in search of a problem. We haven't been having problems in libraries. We hold meetings in libraries, and it's always been well accommodated, and it's a public meeting place. If we let localities start deciding on their own to ban guns, we're back to the bad old days prior to 2004, where a gun owner had to have a map of every locality to try to figure out where he could or couldn't carry a gun, and all the, it's so much better now. It's nice and clean, and people can learn the gun laws and not worry about breaking them when they travel around the state.
Okay, any questions or comments from the committee this time? If not, we're ready for a vote.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm Tanya.
I'm for or against?
I'm for.
Okay.
I am Tanya Francis. I am on the local library board for North Avenue as well as the city library board for North Avenue. I live on the north side, and my children actually attend the library that the incident occurred in. As a voting constituent, I have an issue with not having this bill in place for prosecuting ability. If something were to occur at the particular library and we don't have the certain laws in place, how are we to prosecute? If we don't have, that's, you know, we have to have these laws in place in order to hold these people accountable for if something were to happen. So my thing is, as a constituent, if you want to carry a gun, that's fine. I just particularly care about you being around kids. And that library is packed with kids all day long. They have programs. We have schools that come over, daycare centers that come over, and you have kids in and out that library all day long. We have this law to cover the schools. And to me, the library is an extension of the school. So for me, this law would capture that. And I feel like it should have already been captured.
Appreciate your comment. I think we've had a thorough airing of the issue. We've heard it for many years. And at this time, I'll seek a motion from the committee.
Mr. Chairman.
What's your report?
Substitute motion
Substitute motion.
to lay the bill on the table.
Second that motion.
Okay, I've got a substitute motion to lay the bill on the table. And a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
As I said earlier, House Bill 1466 is bifurcated the trust of the patron of Doug County. House Bill 1582.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, we have a line amendment.
So I have a motion to bring the amendment forward.
Yes. Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment is before us. Doug County.
Mr. Chairman, House Bill 1582, Mr. Chairman, is somewhat of a cleanup bill. As members will certainly recall, under the landmark legislation that was reached a year ago or so ago. One of the elements in the legislation was that there would be universal reciprocity, interstate reciprocity. As it turns out, in trying to execute a reciprocal agreement with the state of Georgia, apparently Virginia law did not conform to Georgia law, and that there was no exception for service members under the age of 21. And what this bill attempts to do essentially is to allow for such an exception so that conformity can be reached and both the reciprocity.
Explain Anybody have any questions about the amendment? Not, motion.
So,
Properly moved and seconded to accept the amendment. Does anyone understand it's on line 16 after armed forces, we simply add, or the Virginia National Guard?
And, Mr. Chair, it's the same amendment, in 4 different places where we
Okay.
say.
That's what I meant.
United States. So it's technically 4 amendments, but they all 4 do the same thing.
Okay, would you tell us the places, so I'll.
Yes, the 4 places are, in each place, it's after United States Armed Forces.
It's line 16.
It's on line 16, on line 70, on line 27, 127, I apologize, and on line 144.
Okay, all right, so some 4 places. Again, I have a motion to support the amendment, approve the amendment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion carries. The bill is before you. And first, any questions from the audience?
Mr. Chairman, Andrew Dodd, Virginia Center for Public Safety. I'm not a military background person, so I have great respect for the military. However, as I understand it, not all military personnel of all services at the age of 18 have had training in safe handling, storage, and transport and use of a concealed handgun. I also believe that not every single military personnel in every service is allowed or required to carry a concealed handgun on duty or off duty on base. And I would like to point out that if you're under 21, you're not allowed to buy the gun that you would be carrying by law, because 21 is the minimum age for buying a handgun. I'm very concerned about this bill.
Anyone else opposed? In favor?
Philip Van Cleve, Virginia Citizens Defense League, we support the bill. By the way, if somebody 18 and older can indeed own a handgun, they just can't buy it from a dealer. They have to either have it as a gift or given to them or purchase it a third party, so they can indeed legally have that handgun. And we do support the bill.
Mr. Chairman, gentlemen, Bob Sadler, South Richmond. When Virginia enacted its universal recognition last year, Georgia recognized 4 or 5 other states that have duplicate laws to our own. But when we enacted recognition, they decided to play hardball with us and not these other 4 or 5 states. So I am actually currently embroiled in a lawsuit with the Georgia Attorney General. This legislation would let me move on to other things. This legislation would let the Georgia Attorney General move on to other things. It's a win for everyone. I thank Delegate Kimball for bringing the bill. Mr. Chairman, I would ask if the patron is amenable to a minor amendment changing honorable discharge to discharge under honorable conditions. Nearly the same thing. Patron's discretion.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. If I may, why would that amendment be necessary?
I'll say that. I think
I'm not in the-
this is a patron chance.
Let me respond to that, and I appreciate Mr. Van Cleve's proposal. The problem there, I think, lies in with the definition in Georgia. Currently, their statute only provides for honorable discharge. So I think if we have any difference between the two, we're going to end up in the very same.
Mr. Chairman, I withdraw.
Well, my question was, I didn't know we took amendments from the public.
We're not.
Okay. I just wondered why we were having that discussion.
He's made a request, and I'll give him a chance to
Okay.
And I might also add, before this may answer Delegate Gilbert's question, I don't know, but the bill advances on beyond today. We intend to offer another line amendment at full committee that will provide for a basic training element, because the Georgia statute also contemplates that the individual must have successfully completed basic training as well.
Mr. Chairman, I think Delegate Gilbert had a question first, technical question.
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
You want to entertain the amendment here?
I think you should.
Oh, just a second. Delegate Gilbert, I recognize you.
So I have a question, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for State Police. Maybe you guys can answer, maybe Mr. Van Cleve can answer, or maybe the both of you have different opinions about this. So my question is, and I apologize to the patron for blindsiding him with this, but I didn't think of it until I was walking up the way. You can verify that.
Yeah.
If this was a problem for us and Georgia because of Georgia's law, is this addition to our law gonna negate any reciprocity we have with an existing state or be a problem in that regard?
I don't believe so, yes.
Okay. All right, so we're not adding an impediment to.
I'm not aware of it. Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Delegate Webb.
Mr. Chairman, the gentleman proposed an amendment about having complete, could we make that, or make a motion for that amendment here, so then the full committee can be presented with a
Gentlemen?
completed bill?
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry.
on the principle, I'm in favor of this bill. I think it's a good bill. And I like adding, protection for our National Guard. I would feel much more comfortable with it if we would add the basic training now, because that's really the only way, if they've successfully completed that, we know that they have had training with firearms. They, not all, having served in the Air Force for 27 years, I can say that every basic training includes some firearms training. They're not all for small weapons. Some of them are for M16 large weapons. For instance, Air Force enlisted basic training is going to be for M16. But if they've completed basic training successfully, we know that they've had that training.
That has a safety, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Which-
That all has a safety component to it.
And that's
obviously.
exactly what I'm speaking to.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, exactly what I'm speaking to. So I'd feel more comfortable if that was in here.
Delegate Kennedy.
Mr. Chair, I'll let Scott be the authority on this, but I believe that we would then report with a substitute, and we would draft a substitute between now and full, that would incorporate the line amendment as well as the basic training amendment.
Okay.
I
All right.
believe that would be the
Well,
appropriate.
I think the first thing we should do is vote on the line amendment that was just suggested.
And Mr. Chairman, could I make a motion to amend, to do an amendment in the nature of a substitute, correct? That includes the line amendment with the National Guard language as well as having completed basic training.
Does that take care of it?
Yes.
All right, second. Okay. Any questions about that amendment? Patron satisfied with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. All in favor, I got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. So the amendment will be presented before the amendment needs to substitute will be before the committee tomorrow morning.
Did we just vote to adopt, Mr. Chair, did we just vote to adopt the substitute, or do we vote to report?
Okay.
We haven't
Now,
voted on
now
the
need a
vote.
motion to report.
Right.
Move to report, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay. All right, there's a motion been made, second to report. All of those say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, so I think that takes care of it. All right, thank you very much, and thank you all for participating, meeting is now adjourned.
They're not all gonna go like that, Emma.